Hi everybody, welcome to this week's digital edition of Overdrive. I am Sohini Dutt. As you could see in the teaser, there's plenty for us to talk to you about today. We've in fact driven the Kia Sonet. That story will be up shortly. 7 o'clock is when the embargo lifts and we'll be able to play that story. We in fact will be playing that story live on this show, and Bert and Rohit will be watching that story as well and answering all of your questions. So feel free to use the comments section and send us all of your queries. But before that, there's yet another exciting compact SUV that we waited a really long time for. It's been 4 years since we've waited for the Audi Q2 to come into the Indian market, and we now know that it will launch in October. So we decided it was only fair to revisit the story that Bert drove the Q2 in Switzerland 4 years ago. Take a look at that story.
Now, the new Q2's highlights are effectively about its design. That's one of the most important characteristics in this car. And as you can see, there are lots of geometric shapes that it follows in the car. The grille, for that matter, the entire grille, well, it's an octagon. That's the shape. The grooves in the middle of the grille as well, they're geometric patterns as well. All across, on the hood, on the front bumper, alongside the side profile, well, they're all geometric shapes. Now, one very interesting design highlight is, of course, the plastic fascia out here. These panels, now these are reflective plastic, and well, most other SUVs, most of the cars, you will notice these are matte elements, but out here Audi's clearly used well, reflective plastic. It looks very funky, looks very interesting, and it completely complements its urban cross image. I think that's a very nice design touch. Let me take you to the side profile and another interesting design character. If you notice out here, Audi's well shaved off a lot of weight along this side profile. Again, lending to a very geometric shape out here, but essentially this has also given it a very racy, very dynamic, a very athletic and lean look. Looks very interesting. I think it's a fantastic finish, and overall I think the Q2 from the front to the rear, lots of interesting design elements, very promising. I quite like it. I'm sure you will too. Now, the Q2 is a fairly compact SUV. It's in fact dimensionally, at least in length, slightly smaller than the A3. Nonetheless, there's been a lot of engineering going on inside this cabin to provide a lot of space for its occupants. A very interesting aspect is that the dashboard just ahead of the driver's knees has been scooped out a bit, so you can push the driver's seat a little bit further forward, and that allows you to provide more space for anybody sitting right behind the driver's seat. In addition, the Audi Q2's dashboard has been laid out very nicely. It's got some fantastic design details on this dashboard, a lot of customizable bits as well. It's got the same aircraft style aircon vents that we've seen in the A3, and which I think are quite cool. You also seen the steering wheel in the S3. Now, that steering wheel with the flat bottom end has well come to the Q2 as well. Rear seat passengers have knee and headroom, and the width will easily allow 3 passengers on the rear bench. The Q2, of course, is based on the MQB platform. That's a modular platform, and it's the most compact SUV that Audi has made to date. Now, the Q2 that I'm driving is powered by a 2-litre 190 PS diesel engine. This turbocharged diesel engine makes about 400 Newton meters of torque in addition. It's a fairly torquey linear engine. Reasonable amounts of refinement. I can still hear the diesel engine clatter inside this cabin, but it's not that loud, it's not obtrusive, doesn't disturb you while driving. What it is of course very linear, as I mentioned it. Lots of torque on offer. Just floor the throttle and the engine picks up smoothly, cleanly. It's a fairly nice car to drive around in urban conditions and of course on the highways as well. Apart from the diesel, Audi may also offer the 1.4 petrol Q2 in India too. This turbocharged petrol offers superior levels of refinement, and I was quite pleased with the performance. It's got the linearity of a diesel without the clatter, and I am assuming the fuel efficiency will also complement the luxurious feel of this engine. This automatic transmission is a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. The shifts are very quick, and the 2-litre version that I'm driving right now, this is the top-of-the-line Q2, and it comes with paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, so you've got manual control over this transmission as well. Our version of the Q2 will of course come with the Quattro drivetrain, which is all-wheel drivetrain, and that will definitely enhance stability, will give you more confidence while driving it in everyday conditions, whether it's in urban areas or out on the highway. Just don't try taking it too far off-road, simply because the ground clearance, while it's respectable for a crossover of this size, really isn't very impressive for off-road conditions. In the new Q2, Audi has a very interesting proposition for its consumers. In India, of course, this will be a car for most consumers looking to step up into the luxury segment, making an entry into the luxury segment. And for them, they've got a crossover, an SUV, which Audi thinks will do extremely well. And I do believe so. Audi has definitely got a winner in its hands. Overall, for the urban dweller, this is one of the best packages you can buy in the market today, considering there aren't too many choices in this space as well.
Well, let's get Bert and Rohit on the show.
Well, and I do believe so. Audi has definitely got a winner in its hands. Overall, for the urban dweller, this is one of the best packages you can buy in the market.
Sorry,
I think someone's playing.
Yeah,
I think Bert's watching himself do that review, and I think
questions are coming up on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So unfortunately, that video is still running in the background. But yeah. I'm here, guys, and Q2, the Audi Q2 is coming up very, very shortly.
4 years, Bert. In fact, 4 years since you've driven it. Do you remember this drive?
Well, I do, because I was very, very impressed at the time with the Audi Q2. Absolutely brilliant car, brilliant package overall. It looked good. And if you've been watching that segment, some of the points, however, though, that I did mention over there, especially the geometric shapes and, the mirror finish, the black mirror finish, the reflective surfaces, all of those were so far ahead of its time. But that was 4 years ago. And ever since then, a lot of things have moved on in the industry, and a lot of other manufacturers have come in with similar accents on their cars. Sorry about that. My phone is also constantly buzzing. But yeah, there have been quite a few design elements in that sense, styling elements that have come into the market that most manufacturers otherwise have made mainstream in all segments for that matter. So whether it's in more affordable segments, the sub 10 lakh rupee bracket or even above those, some of these design elements have come in a big way. So I'm kind of looking forward still to seeing the Q2. 4 years later, 4 years ago, I had put in a lot of pressure on Audi, asking them to get that car into India, but it didn't happen then. Of course, I remember back then, Joe was the boss at Audi, and he was trying very hard as well, but it didn't happen. It's finally happened now, and looking forward to seeing that car in India.
All right, we actually
I have to say,
question.
Bert, between the time you drove the car earlier to now, there's quite a bit of change in the look, both for you as well as for the Q2, because the facelifted model has also been revealed recently, and that's the one that will be coming to India. Not much of a change though compared to the car.
Rohit, are you talking? Is that what you're referring to?
So I'm purely saying there's a facelift. Let's just put it that way. So going with the current trend, I'm sure neither you nor the Q2 have put on any weight, but yeah, there's certainly be a subtle change in the look for both you as well as the car.
Excuse you for now, but from what I understand, and I've been speaking to the guys at Audi as well, this is essentially the last generation car itself that's coming down to India, not a fully facelifted or a newer version of the car. So yes, while there are going to be some changes and some revisions and additions which have been made over time to the Q2 as well, and that's what we're going to get. There will be in some time ahead a globally new version of the Q2 as well. But having said that, also what I've gleaned from them is that Audi is going to probably bring that down with the 2-liter petrol engine, with the dual clutch transmission, of course. And there'll be a few variants with the Q2 available, for consumers to choose from. So all in all, I think it's going to be overall it's going to be a fairly interesting package for consumers. There's quite a lot to look forward to. It also, I would believe, bring the price point down for entering Audi, at a much lower level. So that is a big that's a big statement, because I believe now with the Q2 you will be able to enter the luxury space much ahead or much earlier than what it would take previously. For instance, even the A3 for that matter, I'm not sure. I don't recollect the pricing offhand, but I'm assuming the Q2 will be priced lower than that also.
In fact, that's the question that Nitin Joshua has asked us about the expected price of the Q2. Will it be under 25 lakhs like the Karoq and the T-Roc, which are its European competitors?
I don't believe so. It's definitely not going to be below the T-Roc or the Karo for that matter, even though they're the same platform. There's similar segments for that matter. Globally, they're set against each other, of course. But here in India, Audi commands Audi, BMW, Mercedes-Benz. They definitely command a slightly higher premium for their products, and I think that will be the same case with the Q2 as well. It will be a little more expensive than the Karoq or the T-Roc. I'm saying little, but I assume it will be a little more than what you would expect.
But at the same time, Bert, do you believe that with the T-Roc and the Karoq now coming in and sort of setting those expectations that that size of vehicle can also cost that kind of money? Do you think it will now make the road a little easier, the path a little easier for the Q2? Maybe 6 7 years ago, the Q2 for what its size is probably wouldn't have made a case for itself. But now, do you think because of these two vehicles, the Q2 will have it a little easier?
I definitely think so. It will definitely make it a little easier for people, for consumers to kind of step up to the Q2, especially having gauged that the Karoq and the T-Roc, they've set a precedent for this segment. But having said that, I would also like to believe that somewhere deep down, some of the consumers who've opted for the T-Roc and the Karoq at this point in time would probably be kicking themselves in the backside, saying, probably if I had to wait for a little longer, I might have been able to buy an Audi at the end of the day, and that's probably something that might affect consumer sentiment. Could be. Having said that, I mean the T-Roc's been pretty successful. They've sold out their entire lot, those 1,000 units that they were supposed to. They have sold that off. But I guess it also means that sometime in the future, Volkswagen will be pushing hard to get more units of the T-Roc on sale in India. So I'm not sure how that will go, but I guess that would definitely that could affect the Q2 sales as well.
Right.
All right. I think we should try and take a couple of questions. First, I would like to say hi to Savita. Savita, I'm really glad that you came at 6 p.m. sharp and you said time is over. So we were starting at 6:30. And if you follow our social media platforms, basically you will know that we put up the tweets and Instagram posts and we let you know the timing. So I'm really glad that you came on time though.
And
But our first
I'd also like to tell you here that the only reason we shifted our time slot by half an hour, rather we pushed it back by half an hour, is because at 7 o'clock the embargo for the very very highly anticipated, much awaited Sonet is going to be released. So at 7 o'clock today, we've got the video review for the Sonet here on Overdrive. Definitely fun. Subscribe to Overdrive's YouTube channel, to the Facebook channel as well, because we're going to keep giving you updates of various products coming in. One of them is the Sonet. That's about 15 minutes from now. In fact, we'll have that story for you. So all of you guys, in fact, who are asking a lot of questions about the Sonet, there's a lot of queries out there.
already.
Hold on 15 minutes more, and we will come back to you with everything that you would want to know about the new Kia Sonet.
But let's just take one from Amit Arya. He wants to know which model is worth spending his money on, the Seltos HTE or the HTK trim.
Rohit, do you remember what is in the HTE and the HTK trim? Because I certainly don't.
Well, the HT is still on the lower trim, and as we've said this before, Kia has not managed to really distribute that features list as well as their siblings at Hyundai have managed. So, if you are buying any of the Kias, including the new upcoming Sonet, it's better that you go with the mid or the high level trims because that is where all the features and safety features are really thickly concentrated. So, if you're asking me, I think I would go with the HTK. Or even the HTK Plus for that matter.
All right. We have a question from Deepak. Sorry, Deepak Dogra. He wants to know how is the Creta petrol IVT engine for city drive in occasional highway or hill drives? He's not looking for high adrenaline drive experience, looking primarily for comfortable ride. Does it feel underpowered?
Well, Deepak, very frankly, the IVT is Hyundai's way of terming the CVT. And typically, CVT gearboxes are known to sap all the power of the engine. It just doesn't feel as punchy. Of course, you're not looking for for a lot of the driving punch and the punch from the engine. But still, the CVT is not going to be as enjoyable as the 1.4 DCT option that they have. So if you can stretch your budget, I would strongly recommend going with the DCT. We've also found a 1.4 DCT to return some excellent fuel economy figures. So you get a nice balance of economy as well as driving fun. And if you're looking at occasional highway and hill drives as well, I think the 1.4 will be the better package overall, not just in terms of enjoyment, but also in terms of how it handles these kind of drives. So my recommend would strongly be going with the 1.4 DCT.
I'd like to add over here also because Deepak, you're asking about the comfortable ride, and I think yes, I do. The Creta offers great ride quality, so there are no issues where that is concerned. Even if the roads are bad up in the hills, I think you will still enjoy the drive. What you're not looking for is the high adrenaline experience, but with the CVT again, just to come back to what Rohit was saying. Yes, well, it does have a bit of power and doesn't give you the high adrenaline experience for that matter. It still is competent enough product to be driven anywhere for that matter across the country. The rubber band effect is going to be there. A little bit of that is still there, but nonetheless, I mean, if it falls within your budget, there definitely is no problem. You're not going to face an issue about driving the Creta up in the hills or having something of that sort where, especially when you require higher torque, as you're climbing up. So yeah, it's comfortable, it's spacious, it's a good value for money product at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter which variant you take, whether it's the CVT transmission or even for that matter the DCT, you will have a good experience with it.
All right. We'll just take a break quickly because we have 10 more minutes till we play the Sonet. So Rohit, if you'd like to just update everyone on the motorcycle news quickly.
Yeah, I think let's do that. Let's begin with the permanent fixture that we seem to have every week for the digital show on the motorcycle news. Another BS6 Kawasaki. This time we have the Z900 in its BS6 avatar, priced again very well at rupees 7.99 lakh rupees. This time around, it's going to be available in two colors though. What you see on the screen, that's a metallic graphite gray, a little bit of H2R inspiration in that in terms of its color. And there's, of course, the candy lime green. More importantly, you also get a digital instrument cluster, which is 4.3 inches, and it can be paired with the Kawasaki Rideology application through Bluetooth, which also not only gives you, some additional features, it also lets you sort of diagnose the vehicle and understand if there are any basic problems with the vehicle, if there are any error codes or something. The app will essentially tell you about it, so you are also sort of in the know about the health of your vehicle. So that I think is a very nice feature to have. And in its BS6, guys, now the motorcycle has gained about 2 kilos. And the suspension setup, Kawasaki says, has been improved. We know that there were quite a few complaints about the suspension setup, about its reliability as well, and Kawasaki now says that all of that has been ironed out and it has been improved. The next bit of news is a launch that happened earlier this week. That is the Rocket 3 GT. So as the name suggests, it's a more touring take on the phenomenal Triumph Rocket 3, the motorcycle with that big 2.5 liter three-cylinder engine. I absolutely love the motorcycle, and Triumph was not sure whether they should launch the motorcycle in India or not, and they still brought the Rocket 3 here. And the motorcycle sold out so quickly, in fact, that even the media unit that was allocated never made it to us. We never got our hands on this motorcycle. I'm still waiting to ride it. Hopefully, the 3 GT that has been now launched in the market is something that we will hopefully ride very soon. But that 221 Newton meters of torque from that 2.5 liter three-cylinder engine is what it's all about. Like the screen says, 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds. And, that's 0 to 60 mph. So that's 0 to 100 in essentially less than 3 seconds. And believe me, there are some excellent acceleration figures that you get even from the higher gears. We tried doing this little thing with the previous generation Rocket 3 where we actually launched the motorcycle in its fourth gear and not even in its first gear like you ideally would during the test. And it still returned some amazing figures. So I have some really good memories of the previous generation Rocket 3, and I'm sure the new one is even better.
Rohit,
and then we have some.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I mean, I've seen that video. It's amazing because you don't expect a motorcycle of that order to wheelie, but they do. Exactly. And second, if you look at the video very closely, they pitted it against the McLaren. and that is one of the holy
True.
grails of sport cars in the world. And then for a motorcycle of that order outdo something of that sort, it's quite amazing. I think it'd be very interesting. Yes, we should put the pressure on Triumph to get us a motorcycle as quickly as possible.
Let's hope this time around they have at least one unit for the media to ride because, like I said last time, even the bike that was allocated for the media had to be delivered to a customer because those bikes just they were sold out in no time.
So
Anyway,
all you
moving
guys
on to
So all you guys out there who are watching this, here's one definitely one request that I can put forward to you guys, and you can definitely support us. And this is start tweeting, or rather at least messaging Triumph on Twitter, asking them to give us the motorcycle so we can give you that review. And share the Twitter handle that Triumph has got in India. It's not very difficult. It's some Triumph India, so it's quite simple. And yeah, just yeah, push them, get us the motorcycle also quickly so that we can get a review out for you.
yes, India Triumph is their handle on Instagram and Twitter. Just spam them with a lot of messages. Let's do a crowdsourcing of a different kind. Let's
This
do
is
that
our
and
new
let's
agenda.
hopefully
This
get
is
them
why we are
motorcycle.
running the show now. New agenda.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right. Sorry.
Right. So I
Go on.
think we
Go on.
have only 8 more minutes to go for the sonnet. So before that happens, let me quickly talk about the final two pieces of news. These are from the scooter segment. Now there are electric Husqvarnas on the horizon, at least the talk of electric Husqvarnas on the horizon. So we have two vehicles there. There is the E01 scooter. I'm not sure if that image has loaded completely for you, but there's an E01 scooter and an e-pillion bike in the works. Interestingly, it is Bajaj's idea, it is Bajaj's platform that Husqvarna is looking at using for these electric vehicles. That E01 scooter essentially is going to share its underpinnings with the Chetak. That's the big news. So this is what we keep talking about when we say that when the big names will finally enter the EV space, a lot of things could change, and this is one of those aspects where they bring in the platform, and it's not only them using it, but also their sister brands, also all these alliances that various brands are forming amongst themselves in this new EV world, which is going to take, make these motorcycles or scooters a lot more accessible to you and me, and that is what even Husqvarna is now going to do. We already saw the KTM's become a lot more accessible for a premium brand, and now they are going to make electric a lot more accessible and desirable to own as well with the kind of design that Husqvarna is known for. And on the other side of the EV spectrum, we have the Ather 450X. That scooter has been constantly in the news for a lot of good reasons. And now finally, they are going to expand its reach to 10 cities like they announced earlier in the year. And these scooters will start becoming available very soon across all these 10 cities. They will, of course, begin with Bangalore and Chennai. Ather told us this on the Overdrive Digital Show itself a few weeks back when we had them for an interview. And Ather is also very actively looking at setting up that fast charging network, which they call the Ather Grid. And it will be available in all these 10 cities as soon as possible. They're really working actively towards setting this up. So that sort of wraps up all the two-wheeler news that we have for this week. But I think I'll let you in on one more scoop. We've been talking about the BMW R18 Cruiser for quite some time now. We told you earlier on this show as well that BMW will not waste too much time bringing that cruiser to India, and that R18 Cruiser has actually already landed in all the dealerships for BMW Motorrad in India, at least in all the metros, Pune, Bombay, Delhi, all of them have it. So use this weekend, go take a look at this cruiser because it's going to be launching very soon, as early as next week. 19th September is the date when they launch. And interestingly, they've also brought the first edition down to the country. We got our hands on the motorcycle. We didn't ride it yet, but we at least went and saw the motorcycle, and we'll have a first look video up for you very soon. So stay tuned to the Overdrive social media networks. We will tweet about it. We'll talk about it as soon as that video is up. So do take a look. And like I said, you can always use the time on this weekend and visit a BMW Motorrad showroom if there's one in your city, and you might be able to get a glimpse of this new cruiser.
Rohit, I think we
Okay,
still
we
got a few
have,
minutes to go.
yeah. So
We
we'll
we've
just
got five
quickly
minutes.
take
Let's
a
take a
couple of questions.
yeah.
So, Bert, we
Right.
have this one from Yash. Interesting question. He wants to know Endeavour
Endeavour
or
or
Fortuner,
Fortuner?
which one should he go for, or should he wait for the Gloucester?
Yash, your choice should be ideally between the Endeavour or the Fortuner. At this point in time, I'd suggest one of these two. We'll come back to the MG Gloucester in some time. We have a review for you, but we are embargoed at this point in time, so we will have a review for you shortly on that. And how it fares against these two, we'll share that information with you as well in the future. But between the Endeavour and the Fortuner, well, my heart pulls out towards the Endeavour. I definitely like the ride quality. Its off-road capabilities are also very impressive. I like the way it feels more dynamic, more solid, more planted, secure SUV compared to the Fortuner. Having said that, the Fortuner, and we've known this for a very long time, the longevity on that product is just incredible. I mean, you could buy one and forget about it for the next, I don't know, millennium. And we'll keep going on and on and on. Toyota's products are just like that. They're bulletproof, they're indestructible, and affordable also at the end of the day. Keep in mind, it's a fairly affordable product, and that's one of the reasons why Toyota does extremely well with some of the products in India. But yeah, if I wanted great ride quality, I wanted fantastic dynamics, I wanted good off-road ability, and a more rugged-looking SUV. The Endeavour is where it is at.
Here's one more from Salvikar Bhatt. He wants to know, what do you think about the Thar convertible top? Is it safe and practical enough?
Salvikar, Pranav, we've driven the hardtop version of it. I can't tell you much about the soft top version, but having said that, there is a roll cage built within the cabin, and that will keep you safe. So it doesn't matter whether you've got the convertible or the hardtop or the completely rollable top. You will stay safe because of that roll cage. So there's no security issues in that sense. It is perfectly safe. It is practical. Practicality now, let me tell you, I have owned a Mahindra for a very, very long time, almost 2 decades, even more than 2 decades for that matter, that we've had Mahindras in our family. I learned to drive on a Mahindra 540, and that had a soft top. And the only concern with the soft tops is that there's a lot of wind noise that keeps coming into the cabin at speeds above 100 kilometers, not even above 100, about 80 kilometers an hour. It can be quite intrusive, quite noisy. Now, I haven't driven the new Thar. I haven't experienced what that feels like, but I'm willing to bet that there is going to be a lot of noise, wind noise, that will enter the cabin at higher speeds. And this car, let me tell you, is definitely capable of going a lot more faster, a lot more quicker than whatever you would expect a Mahindra to offer. This is an absolute bomb. Those engines are brilliant. The transmissions are brilliant. There's a phenomenal amount of fun to be had with these cars. So yes, I would recommend if you're looking for the car at this point in time, the hardtop is where it's at.
All right, we have just about a minute till we can play the story. So, okay, we
So
can
do you think
quickly probably take one question. So, Rohit, someone wants to know, what are your thoughts on the Meteor 350 engine, considering it's a brand new engine? He was expecting a little more than the 0.4 bhp power bump.
Very frankly, I won't really comment on that engine until I have ridden it because, as we've seen in the past and with a lot of brands, not just Royal Enfield, engines, how they perform, how they feel is a lot more about the numbers that they show you on paper. So till I actually ride the motorcycle and see what this new 350 engine and the 350 platform is all about, I really don't want to say anything. I'm going to withhold my opinion until I actually ride one of these. And then we'll have a detailed discussion about it.
All right, with that, I think.
So, there's a question for you. I think we can still wait for another minute.
For me.
What do you think about Aston Vettel's move to Aston Martin?
Superb. At least he'll be up and ahead, racing with the guys. And
I'm not F1 fan over here, and she's got super answer. Yes, absolutely. I think Sebastian Vettel moving to Aston Martin, great move.
In fact, last week's race was the best race we've seen in a very long time, with the midfield guys coming right on top. Excellent move.
Absolutely. But let's not forget that was also because just because Hamilton got a penalty. So,
he should get a penalty every race. He should get a penalty to make things exciting. Even he agreed that it was an exciting race because of it.
Absolutely. Anyway, I think it's time we can go ahead with the Sonet review. Let's watch that, Sohini.
Yes, let's go ahead with that review.
Sonet is defined as a poetic style which is known for its short length, and it's usually made up of 14 lines. Now that definition can also hold true for Kia Sonet. It is shorter than 4 meters in length, and if you count the lines on both the sides, there are 14 character lines on this. But Kia's also sort of exploited the creative freedom and dropped one N from the spelling of the Sonet. Now if this was a Hyundai, that N would have found its place on the boot and created a sportier N line trim. But because this is Kia, the other car maker from Korea, you have this as the GT line, and which is why you see all these red accents in the side, on the face, even in the wheels. There's no denying that this face looks very smart, very distinctive, and certainly going to work in the Sonet's favor. It's going to be one of its biggest selling points, and this also happens to be one of its prettiest angles to look at this car from. Now the only thing that I'm a little worried about is this fog lamp housing. You have the housing, but you don't have any sort of protection on the fog lamp itself. The lens is exposed, and that has me a little worried, especially with the kind of stone chips that cars have to go through in the Indian monsoons. I'm a little worried about that. But apart from that, the face looks beautiful. I like the sophistication that you see on the grille. This knurled finish, again inspired from the Seltos, looks really nice. I also like these little red accents that they've done, very tastefully done for the grille. Now, if you do not like the lean stance of this car, if you want something that looks a little more butch, you might want to settle for the Tech line, because on the Tech line, this treatment is different. The skid plate looks a lot more butch, a lot more purposeful in that sense, and that gives it an even more imposing stance compared to the GT line. The design of the wheels, the fake twin muffler layout at the rear, the layout of the premium LED lighting elements in the tail lights and the headlights, and the tiger nose grille, all of it looks sophisticated for the class and remains unchanged from the concept shown at the 2020 Auto Expo. A longish nose and a stubby boot is the shortcoming of a sub 4 meter crossover SUV, and that continues with the Sonet as well. But despite that, I really appreciate the amount of detail that Kia has managed to pack in, especially on the side profile. It certainly looks good. Now, a lot of you viewers have told us that, you know, it looks very hatchbackish in its proportions, in its styling. Well, in the images and in the videos, it did look like that. But once I've spent time with this and seen this in the flesh, it actually looks quite SUV-ish. The upright proportions certainly help, especially the ones on the nose and the grille. And that certainly helps this cause of looking SUV-ish. But what really helps it is the treatment given to the rear three-quarter, especially this part. By including this little quarter glass, they've created a D-pillar effect, one that is swept backwards, and that gives it a little more butch proportions, that SUV-ish kind of a stance, and that really looks good. Now this quarter glass doesn't do much for the passengers inside, but for the design of the car, it really adds a very unique design element, which certainly looks good. While the signature gold looks good, I would get myself the black Sonet with the red accents, even though it would be a pain to maintain. Also remember that the black color doesn't show off the finer details, like the D-pillar for example that we just spoke about, and that lends it a more hatchbackish stance. Like the exterior, even the cabin of the Sonet has a very stylish vibe to it. It looks quite nice. Even the common touch points, you don't have a lot of gloss black in here, so it's not going to be a dust magnet or a fingerprint magnet, and I really like that. You get a similar knurled finish as the outside, even on the inside, but the bezels are different depending on what trim levels you choose. Now, the premium feel of this cabin is down to primarily the big 10.25-inch touchscreen infotainment that you get. You also get a Bose audio unit, which again ups the whole premium factor. And all of this really feels nice. And on the lower trims, you get an 8-inch system with the Archemis audio. So essentially, as long as you're going with a mid or a top level system or a trim of the Sonet, you are definitely going to get a good sounding audio system and a feature-rich infotainment system. What you also get is ambient lighting, which is great for this class of car. Now, some of the plastic bits, well, they feel a little too plasticky, but like I said, most common touch points feel good to the touch, and it feels nice in terms of the fit and finish, and that is what I like about this cabin. This switchgear right here is more function than form. The switches are very intuitively placed, very ergonomically placed, and it's very easy to remember the switches. It's very easy to just use them without having to take your eyes off the road, which is a very good thing. What I also love is the instrumentation. The combination of analog clocks with that digital display is simply superb. Especially those analog clocks, very easy to read, and that digital display with a full color multi-info display within it is, I mean, I love it. It just feels so much premium, just goes with the premium vibe of the car. You won't miss a heads-up display on this one, and the instrumentation will even display turn-by-turn navigation if you prefer to get your instructions here instead of the infotainment. Irrespective of the variant you choose, the infotainment system is placed high up on the dashboard. which again doesn't need you to take your eyes too far off the road. There's a cooled wireless charger too. And weirdly, the smaller 8-inch system has the wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, whereas the bigger 10.25-inch system uses the older wired interface for these systems. However, it gets the connected tech that has most of the features of the Seltos. There are voice commands too, but the only downside to it is, unlike some of the higher end cars where you start speaking or using these voice commands, they automatically lower the blower speed so that it can hear you clearly. Here, if the blower speed is high like it is right now, it may not hear you. Even worse if you're wearing the mask. Let's give it a try. Hello Kia. It can't hear you. So you have to lower the volume for the blower sound. Hello Kia. Hello Kia. Lower the driver's side window.
Opening the driver's window.
Now that's a really cool feature. Of course, you can simply use the switch, but think about it in times where you may not have the FASTag on you, or if it's expired, not working anymore, and you're reaching out for your wallet when you're arriving at a toll. This command will simply roll down the window. It's a really cool feature and a conversation starter. There's one more cool feature that has been added to the voice commands. Let's give it a try. Let's roll up the window first. Hello Kia, roll up the driver's side window.
Closing the driver's window.
Hello Kia, start the front defogger for me.
Defogging the windshield.
Now this is another cool feature because I've seen a lot of times people get confused on how to actually defog the front windshield. So simply ask the assistant to do it and she'll do it for you. The front seats are large and supportive and come in various upholstery options depending on the trim level you choose. They also get a ventilated or cooling function, which is a big plus. Cooling at the rear is taken care of by these two AC vents. You also get a charging socket in here, USB type. You also have a small crevice to store away your phone. Now, if you don't want to store the phone there, you can also keep it here and horizontally. And this is a plus size phone, fits in nicely. There's enough space in here, so that's a very good thing. As far as seating is concerned, I like the seats. The contouring is quite nice, even for my frame, my size. I've got excellent space, excellent, the fitting is quite nice. It doesn't feel like it's too intrusive for the back or anything. The cushioning is also quite good. Under thigh support is nice, so is the foot space. In fact, there's plenty of foot space. I can literally stretch my feet and still my feet are not touching anywhere. That's the kind of foot space I get. In fact, the driver's seat is set to my driving preference. And with that, just look at the kind of knee room that I have. This is easily the best in class space that you get for the sub 4 meter SUV or crossover. This space is only good enough for 2 adults and a kid. 1, because of the contouring, and 2, because of the headrest. You only get 2 of those, not 3. So for 2 adults and a kid, it's going to be a safe proposition, not for 3 adults. Now that said, if you have 3 people seated in here, and if that sort of intrudes in your rear view vision when you're driving the car, they've also given a very nifty little tool. There's a switch that says camera view on the center console. Pressing that will run the reversing camera all the time, irrespective of what speeds you're driving the car at, and that essentially works like a rear view mirror for you. So that's a very good touch and a very good addition and a very good use of a small utility that is now common to most cars. The cabin also gets an air purification system capable of killing viruses as well, and there's also an embedded fragrancing system in it, akin to some of the more premium cars. In fact, the Sonet is now the benchmark for creature comforts in the sub 4 meter space, and there's virtually nothing better that you can buy in this space if a fat features list is what you seek. Apart from its relatively spacious seating, there are plenty of storage spaces in the cabin too, and a sizable 392-litre boot space, making this compact crossover quite a practical offering. With the Seltos, Kia gave us so many options to choose from in terms of trims, gearboxes, engines. It's the same thing with the Sonet as well, so there is something for every pocket size. You have a 1 litre petrol, you have the 1.2 petrol, you have a 1.5 diesel, and the same 1.5 diesel in a higher capacity and with a 6-speed automatic transmission. At the base is the 1.2 litre petrol, only available with a manual transmission and targeted at those who are on a budget. The other petrol option is the familiar and sprightly 1 litre turbo, which can be had with the quick 7-speed DCT automatic, a conventional 6-speed manual, or the new 6-speed clutchless manual or IMT. The Sonet IMT works just as well and efficiently as the one in the Venue, but minor tweaks and tuning changes have made it quicker in outright and in-gear acceleration than its sibling. On all the manual transmissions, Kia has used learnings from the Hyundai siblings and reduced the springy nature of the clutch pedal. The advantage is most noticeable in the 1.5 diesel with the 6-speed manual. This powertrain is aimed at the range and fuel economy conscious buyer and is expected to be the popular choice. But the combination that I absolutely love and the one that I will recommend to most people out there if you can stretch your budget to that is the diesel automatic. It is going to be the range topper. It comes with a 1.5 diesel engine mated to the 6-speed torque converter. The same setup that you get inside the Creta, inside the Seltos. We've loved it in those cars, but it is absolutely explosive. It is brilliant to drive. It goes with the sporty nature of the car. They've tuned it differently, though it's the same hardware. They've completely retuned the way it behaves, the way it performs, be it in the city, be it on the highway. It is so quick to respond. In fact, the diesel automatic will be my recommendation because it ticks all the right boxes. The convenience of an automatic for city use, long range for road tripping and highway use, and a punchy performance for when you're in the mood for some driving fun. The other impressive bit about the diesel auto is that it comes with driving modes and also terrain modes. So this is again something similar to what we've seen in the Seltos. So the terrain modes are essentially functions of fancy traction control system that this car gets, whereas the drive modes are different maps. So you have a eco mode, you have the normal mode, and you have the sport mode, but they're available to you only as long as you are in the drive mode or the automatic mode. The moment you go into a manual override, it will also override these settings or these presets and will essentially give you something that's very close to the normal mode, and then you have complete manual control over the gearbox. But at the same time, even if you were to put it in manual mode, the engine or the software will not allow you to go all the way to the red line. It will upshift on its own to protect the engine. The terrain modes are a good addition for B roads, and on our test, they help the Sonet pass through some slushy pathways without as much trouble as faced by our support cars. As for the driving modes, the mellowed throttle response of the Eco mode makes it ideal for city use and bumper-to-bumper traffic, while the Sport mode has sharper responses from the engine and the gearbox, which is great around winding roads. I didn't find much advantage in using the normal mode though. These modes also alter steering feedback, but oddly enough, I found the steering to be more responsive and better weighted in the Eco mode than the Sport, which has quite a bit of dead play or dead at center feel. The taut suspension setup of this platform certainly helps the sporty intent of the Sonet by giving it good body control through corners, though there is a hint of understeer around tighter switchbacks. The stability at highway speeds is quite good too, but the speed warning is a bit too loud. The ride quality is on the firmer side, but enjoyable for the most part, but it's only the sharp bumps and the joints which make the suspension thud quite loudly. The brakes are a tad bit spongy in the brake pedal feel, but the bite is predictable nonetheless. If you're upgrading from a hatchback, there's plenty that you will like about the new Kia Sonet. The elevated driving position, the roomy cabin, the connected tech, the sporty styling, and the driving dynamics that complement that styling quite well. The simple way for me to sum this up is, the Sonet is a Seltos for those on a budget, but it doesn't feel like a compromise in any department. So if you don't necessarily need the extra cabin space or the imposing size, a range-topping Sonet at the price of a mid-spec Seltos would be the more sensible buy.
So I lost you guys for quite some time in there. I think my network's gone for a toss again. But yeah,
I think you have summarized in this video the value for money question that we had. In fact, right before the video was playing, we had a couple of questions asking us whether it was a value for money proposition.
I think it certainly is, because the kind of features that now it brings to the table, because there's hardly anything that the Seltos has over and above this. Maybe a few features here and there, like the 360-degree camera or the heads-up display. But if you're on a budget, or if you don't necessarily need that additional space in the second row, or if you don't really need a car that big as the Seltos or even a Creta for that matter, I think the Sonet makes a lot of sense. So the price of the Kia Sonet is still not out, and the value for money variant, till we actually get a detailed pricing on, the different variants and the different trims, can't really say much. But from what we've had, what we've talked to Kia or the driving experience that we've had, I think the most value for money variant will still be the diesel manual. And just the way I said about the diesel auto, the diesel manual ticks all the right boxes. And I think in terms of the value for money bit, I think that is going to be one of the best selling variants for Kia is what my prediction is. I think it's going to be the diesel manual. Now, they're going to offer it in the GT line as well. That's a very good thing. You're going to have it, both tech line as well as GT line to choose from. So I think it will be the diesel manual, the most value for money variant.
In fact, people are already asking comparative questions. Deepak wants to know, is it good for someone coming from the XUV 500? Someone's asking, is it better than the Volkswagen T-Roc?
Well, I don't think I'd go as far as saying better than the Volkswagen T-Roc. I wouldn't put them in the same segment. Different cars. The T-Roc, more space for that matter. But the Sonet, yeah, I mean, I got a chance to drive it, Rohit, yesterday. In fact, I did put my butt on that seat and I drove a couple of the variants around. And that diesel automatic, I think that is, according to me, that is the variant to go for. Absolutely brilliant. What an engine, what a transmission, fantastic overall. But getting to the value for money, this is where I think Kia will have to be played very, very smart because the pricing needs to be competitive. Let's keep in mind some of the features inside the Sonet, and from what I've seen initially also on when I did the first look for the Sonet, and to even yesterday when I drove it. They're not just they don't they're premium features. Just putting that Bose system into that car, it's an expensive system, I'm assuming, at the end of the day. And I don't know what deal Kia has got going with Bose, but that could raise the price bar. There are several other features also which could raise the price of the Sonet, and I'm not sure how they're going to manage it, but they need to get extremely competitive with the pricing is. What I do believe is, like every other manufacturer that's been doing it for the last couple of years, there will be an introductory or an introduction price which will be really affordable, but the variants that you would want will be fairly expensive, or at least at the higher end of the price bracket. So let's see what and how and where Kia prices this.
All right. Is it better than the 2020 EcoSport petrol automatic?
There are lots of EcoSport fans over here.
Yeah, I'm sure, but certainly, I mean, the EcoSport is now definitely showing its age. They've done a commendable job. Ford's done a commendable job keeping the EcoSport alive and relevant all this while. But I mean, in terms of the way the new DCT performs, you just can't compare the two anymore. That petrol automatic in the Sonet, or even the Venue for that matter, and compared to the EcoSport, this new engine is phenomenal. And we also showed you the specs and the test figures. I have them with me, in fact, and the petrol DCT is managed at 12.3 kilometers to a liter in the city in our tests. These are not claim figures, these are our tests. And on the highway, it's gone to 18.2 kilometers to a liter. That is while offering a blistering performance from that petrol motor, the turbo diesel, the turbo direct injection petrol, and the DCT is a beautiful gearbox. I have said this on record for a lot of cars that small engines and DCTs aren't a great combination, but Hyundai and Kia have both managed to really get that tuning right, even for the Indian conditions, and we've driven it in different conditions, and it's just phenomenal what they've managed with the DCT and that petrol engine. So if I were to choose it against an EcoSport petrol automatic, this would certainly be my choice.
So that should answer your question as well, Amit Arya. You were asking about the mileage. Anything on wants to know how does it compare to an urban cruiser?
Well, we haven't driven the urban cruiser, but of course it's like the Brezza, and Bert loves the Brezza, of course. So
I love the Brezza. I think it's a fantastic package overall. Phenomenal dynamics. You would have a lot of fun with that product. The Sonet, though, to be honest, I think feels a lot more European.
Okay, I think we've lost Bert there again, some network issue. But yeah, I mean, compared to the urban cruiser, or let's say compared to the Brezza right now, which is equally spec, compared to that 1.5 liter engine, of course, you don't get the advantage of that smart hybrid technology, which is in itself, an excellent technology. So if you're primarily looking at petrol, I still have a feeling that the Brezza 1.5 petrol or even the urban cruiser for that matter could be a better option to the petrols that are on offer in the Sonet. But like I said, if you go with the 1 liter, the GDI, it's a stonker of a motor. It's got phenomenal power output. And at the same time, they've managed to get excellent fuel economy out of it as well, the way they've tuned that gearbox. And even for the IMT for that matter, or even for the manual, they've got an excellent fuel economy out of it. So, uh, we don't have the figures of the IMT yet. We had a go in it, but we couldn't, get satisfactory results out of it in it purely in terms of the amount of time that we spent with that car. So you will have to wait for a road test. But at least whatever were the indicative figures from our early test for the IMT, the small test that we did even on the IMT, I think the figures are going to be excellent even for the IMT. So if fuel economy is what you're looking at from a petrol motor, I think the Sonet might still have an advantage. But let's just say this is a story for another day. Let's actually compare these vehicles back to back. Let's do all the tests back to back and then give you a verdict on which one's better. But if you're purely talking about features here, the Sonet is the new benchmark. There is nothing in this segment that offers you the kind of features that the Sonet has right now. Whether you're talking about premium stuff like the Bose audio or the ambient lighting, or if you're talking about the connected technologies, there's no other car that is giving you these level of features. I mean, it's even outclassed its own sibling, the Hyundai Venue, when it comes to the number of features on offer as a part of the connected tech suite. So I think overall it's the benchmark right now for features. So if you're one of those people who wants the latest in technology, wants to be ahead of the curve in terms of the features, this is still going to be your vehicle. But if you're purely talking about the value for money aspect, fuel economy, engine performance, let's just say let's wait till we get our hands on the car, the pricing, and actually test both the urban cruiser and the Sonet back to back, and then we'll have a more definitive verdict so that you can make a more informed buying decision.
Right. Deepak has a question. He wants to know what do you think of Kia's service feedback since it's been launched for more than a year ago. How does the service shape up?
Deepak, I think we'll have to still take some time on this because Kia's fairly new in the country in that sense, and they haven't, not a lot of people, I believe, would have gone to them for the services of yet because Seltos, again, keep in mind, we had the 5 months of lockdown when nothing really moved. So most people have been waiting to get their cars serviced, and I think in the months to come, in the couple of months to come, we will have an idea about what this service quotient is like, how quick, how good, how affordable they are. So let's just wait for some time.
Nitin Joshua wants to know, will the topmost variants of the Sonet make sense since it gets close to the Creta or the Seltos mid variants, considering the XUV 300, which was expensive, did not get many takers?
Well, look at it like this: if your requirement is for a more compact SUV, for a more compact vehicle because parking is an issue or something of that sort, then the Sonet makes a lot more sense. You're getting a lot more value in terms of kind of features that are there in that. Will it cannibalize the Creta, the Seltos mid variants? It probably might, but you're getting a lot more space inside the Creta or the Seltos. There is definitely a difference over there. Someone who wants a little more premiumness, someone who wants a slightly higher positioned vehicle will definitely go in for the Creta or the Seltos. They're not going to go in for the Sonet. And someone who does not have space as an issue. I mean, Mumbai, where we live, space is a concern. We live in apartment block. Parking is an issue. Compact vehicles make a lot more sense. But having said that, people who want a larger car still go for a larger car. And the rest of the country, of course, parking is not so much of an issue as it is in Bombay. So yeah, there should not be any issue with the Creta or the Seltos being cannibalized by the Sonet. But those who want the Sonet will go for the Sonet because of the space.
There's one more question. How do you rate it against the Nexon?
Amit Arya significantly better at this point in time. Significantly better.
Okay, we'll just take a couple of other questions. We'll just digress a little bit from the Sonet. Atharva Dalvi wants to know, should he buy a used Touareg, a 2013 model for 60, driven for 60,000 with service records of 20 lakhs? He's from Mumbai.
Well, yes, you could buy the Touareg. It wasn't a bad vehicle at all, for that matter. Great ride quality, lots of space to be had. Fairly large vehicle, has a big footprint, and that would be its only disadvantage in Bombay because it is a large vehicle at the end of the day they would be driving. But having said that, there were also maintenance of the Touareg is not the easiest at this point in time. Bear that in mind. Like I always tell a lot of people, it's not the buying that should affect your decision. It is the ownership cost overall. After that, the Touareg was not the most fuel efficient vehicle in its category for that matter as well. And when servicing it will also not be an easy and inexpensive option. So be careful when you make that purchase, or if you're looking to make that purchase.
Ramesh is looking forward to buying a brilliant hatchback, he says, and he wants the best waiting period of just 3 to 4 months. I think with the festive season around the corner, what would you suggest?
Ramesh, I'd suggest you wait for a few weeks, at least a month or two more, because we've also now got the Hyundai i20 coming out very shortly, and we'd like to see what that product is like. Once that, I mean, I'd be definitely in a position to make, to offer you some more advice as to what to buy in this segment. Apart from that, otherwise, if you're looking for something smaller, you also got the Neos, the Turbo, the i10 Neos Turbo, and that is a fantastic package. Rohit has driven that car as well, I believe, so he will have a more informed opinion on that. But that's the turbo petrol, and that's one of the nicer cars in this segment to own at this point in time.
In fact, he wanted to know when the new Polo will also come to India.
Well, that new Polo is not happening anytime soon. It's, I think, the least of their priorities right now as a part of the India 2.0 strategy, both for Skoda and Volkswagen. It is SUVs first, and we've already got a glimpse of the two compact SUVs that both these brands are planning. We saw the Taygun, and we also saw the Vision IN concept from Skoda. So both these vehicles are right now the priority, and then they will turn their attention to a hatchback in that Fabia and Polo space. Whether they'll make one or not is something that we don't know of so far.
All right, here's one from Aniket. He wants to know any news of the Honda HRV coming to India since there were spy shots of the car testing in India. Will it compete against the likes of the Creta, Seltos, Hector, or any other cars in the segment?
Well, the HRV it's been testing in India for quite some time now because Honda is toying with the idea of having a proper crossover in that space. The only competitor they have right now is the WRV. The BRV is gone, and the CRV is way high up. So they've been waiting to get a vehicle in that space, but the current generation HRV is not what they're looking at. There will be a new vehicle that will enter that space, and it's again going to be a global model, and that is what they will bring to India. When the HRV debuted, Honda did confirm to us that they will not be able to bring that vehicle to India purely because of the kind of price points that it will go to, and they didn't see any takers for it because you're essentially looking at the 20 to 25 lakh rupee bracket. At least back then, they were looking at that kind of a bracket for the HRV to come in, and that would certainly not make much economic sense for a large volume player like Honda. So it will be the next generation HRV probably that will make its way to India, or probably a more Asia oriented vehicle that is under wraps right now. But yeah, they are certainly looking to bring something in that space.
Rohit, here's Akshay with a compliment for you. Your reviews are just perfect, he says.
Thank you
There's
so much, Akshay.
One question from Bhaskar saying he saw the Sonet today. He found it way ahead of the others, especially with the 7 DCT. He was just wondering how would it compare with the new upcoming i20? Of course, he knows that it's an SUV versus a hatchback, but he just wants to know.
Well, there'll be a lot of differences between the SUV and the hatch in any case, and the Sonet, I think, would offer a lot more space for that matter, in addition to the ground clearance. But having said that, I mean, the Sonet, it felt like a large hatchback, especially where its dynamics and on-road performance was concerned. So, in that sense, it had a lot of bases covered. And the i20 will have a fairly a tough job ahead of it, to counter what the Sonet has to offer. never mind, people's attentions are focused more on buying SUVs today, so which makes the job harder for the i20. But I'm expecting a lot of good things from the i20 as well. But the Sonet, I mean, was just absolutely brilliant. It's hard to beat that. It is definitely the benchmark for most of the manufacturers who want to come out in this segment, or even with the hatchback for that matter.
All right. Akshay also wants to know, will the DCT ever make it back to the mainstream Volkswagen cars?
It probably might not. The DCT is an expensive transmission, and making it back into mainstream, the more affordable cars that they would like to offer in India in the future is going to be a bit of a challenge. The torque converter becomes a little is a little more affordable at this point in time, and also is lower on ownership costs. Maintenance costs for the torque converter is lesser than what is there on the DCT, and I think Volkswagen has been has faced this issue. Volkswagen Group, for that matter. So you will see more of the torque converters rather than just the DCT in some of the lower priced cars.
All right. We'll just quickly take one last question. Rishabh wants to know, when is the Jeep Compass facelift making it down to India?
Next
Well,
year,
the
Rishabh.
Compass next year, yeah, exactly. We've discussed this earlier on the show as well. That the first look that we showed you of the Compass facelift that was recently revealed in Europe is not the car that is coming to India. The India spec Jeep Compass facelift will be a lot more comprehensive in its changes, not just in terms of design but also in terms of the equipment. And we are hearing that there will be connected tech in the car as well, because now with the likes of the Creta, Seltos, Sonnet, all of that offering it at this kind of a price point, it's definitely not going to be easy pickings for the Compass. So they need whatever is the best available for that segment to really bounce back again, and they will try and do all of that. But it's at least mid of 2021 for the India spec Compass facelift to come out.
Yeah, so what I hear is early 2021 is when it is expected, with some comprehensive changes to the interiors, especially not so much the exteriors, but the interiors are changing comprehensively. So that will definitely be one of the big changes that are coming in. And of course, they're also going to have another version, another variant of it coming up in the future. Here's some information. There is going to be a seven-seater Compass sometime later in 2021. So that also is something to look forward to. I believe there will be some mechanical changes on that car, mechanical in the sense that there will be some changes to the architecture of the car to accommodate the third row. But yeah, that is something you can expect to see in 2021 from Jeep in India.
Okay, so we have a little bit of.
I don't believe we have put that information out as of yet, Rohit, have we? About the seven-seater Compass.
The seven-seater, the spy shots have been out for quite some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's still going to be a while away. It's not going to happen anytime soon. I mean, there were reports that it would come out as early as the mid 2020, but it's not happening. Like you said, it will only happen in 2021.
Yeah.
Okay. Abhiram, ouch. Your comment has hurt us, but I'll tell you what, we are very excited that he says that, is it worth subscribing to the Overdrive magazine in the lockdown when we're testing less cars, or should he wait for a while, I'm assuming? And we want to tell you that we're celebrating our anniversary issue. In fact, Bert, why don't you take our viewers through the exciting stories that are up in our anniversary issue?
Well, guys, Abraham, especially, we've tried and continued to test a lot of cars. There were a couple of months during the lockdown that were not too great, but here you see this is our anniversary issue. We got some fantastic stories for you in there. So, if you can just take it back to the main cover and hold it there for a second.
It's a
We've got the
video,
Audi
Bert.
RS, oh, sorry. Well, okay. We got the RS Q8 in there. Phenomenal SUV. We've got the Thar, as you can see there. Again, another phenomenal SUV. We've got the EQC, another SUV. Okay, let's get to the other. That's a very sport with the IMT transmission. Of course, the Swatpilin and the Vitpilin, the two Huskies in there. And of course, here's the comparison between the RS7 and the GT63S. That's another stunning story that we've got for you. Let me keep going on because there's about 3,000 horsepower inside this car. It's an enormous issue. We've gone all out. As you can see here, we've got the three AMGs on test, and that's the GTR, the GT63, and the C63. So definitely subscribe to the issue. we're coming back with a bang. We've got a lot of excitement for you. If you can play that video for me again, so you can just pause it where the cover is. It'll instantly give you
Pausing
an
is
idea.
not possible, but we can
Sorry,
display
guys.
it.
But yeah, our Twitter feeds will be populated by this very very shortly. But we've got a wealth of stories coming up in the anniversary issue. Some very interesting stuff that we've done. One bit I missed talking about is the connected technology, where they're right on the cover if you look at it, and it speaks about the connected technology available in all the cars today that you can see, whether it's from Hyundai, whether it's from Kia, whether it's from MG, going all the way up to Mercedes Benz for that matter. The level of connected tech that you've got, we've tried to analyze and see just how much of a convenience feature is it. What all can you do at this point in time? The findings from that study are quite interesting. We've run an exhaustive test on all of these technologies, for that matter, almost about 4 to 5 different cars that we've taken as samples in this, and it was quite enlightening to know, where we stand today with connected tech. Definitely go out and read that story. Subscribe to the magazine. Get an online version, or if you liked reading it in print, well, do subscribe to that as well. Get the print copy in hand. I still prefer reading print. It just makes my day. But yeah, whatever your choice, we've got that. So head out to overdrive.in to the website and you can book your copy from there. We'll also be able to get it from Amazon and various other websites. All the details will be there. Will be posted on Twitter and all our social media feeds. So do go out, subscribe to it. We've got stories coming to you. The automotive industry is picking up again. There's lots of content coming up. There's lots of cars, lots of motorcycles that are headed our way, and all of those will be on test very, very shortly. Yes, the lockdown for a couple of months in between did have a few challenges ahead of us, but we surmounted that. We've still got some excellent features, and now we're back to our testing regimen day in, day out. Let me tell you, we've been at it. Rohit isn't really showing it at this point in time, but he isn't in the best of health because exhaustion more than anything has caught up with him. Simran has been exhausted, has been thoroughly tested himself. His limits have been tested to the max, and there's a bit of wear showing over there as well. But
No,
yeah,
but I think we are happy doing that, bud, because yeah, the lockdown got the better of us, and now I would rather be exhausted testing cars and driving cars and bikes than sitting at home in this lockdown. So I think it's
absolutely,
all worth it.
absolutely. And we've taken that entire opportunity. In fact, we had this fantastic road trip down to Balasanor with the three AMGs. Absolutely brilliant trip, phenomenal, experience driving those three cars on our roads. Not everything in that story went off as expected. You will read about it in the issue as well as on the web for that matter, and you will see a video about that a little later on. But I mean, we just had to go down and get out of our comfort zones at home and try something new and something unique. And that was thanks to those AMGs that we've had there. Lots, like I said, as you can read on the cover, lots of horsepower in this issue. The RSQ8, the GT63, the RS7, the GTR, the C63. Phenomenal issue that we packed in to go out. And, you reading it just encourages us to do a lot more.
I think we have also convinced Abhiram. He said, surely we'll renew then. I'm
Thank
very
you.
glad. We're
Thank you.
very,
Thank you, Abhiram.
Fantastic.
yeah, we are very happy with subscriptions, our new viewers. We're very happy. Thank you so much for that.
I'm
Um,
actually very pleased that that we're seeing the kind of questions that are coming up on our social media feeds right now, especially in the digital show. I'd just like to apologize to all those guys whose questions we can't answer at this point in time, just because we try and stick to a 1 hour limit, which you've already exceeded by about 10
yeah.
minutes now. But yeah, we will still take a couple of questions. It's the anniversary month. Let's give you a little bit more. We will still take a few more questions, and we will stay with you for a few more minutes and try and get you. But yes, do subscribe to Overdrive's YouTube channel. Do read the magazine. Do watch us on CNBC TV 18. Subscribe and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We've got lots of feedback and lots of information coming your way. And of course, do tune in every week to Overdrive's channel on YouTube. And for this live session that goes on, we try and answer all of your queries, and we continue to do so, guys. Sorry, can we take a few more questions then?
Yeah, we could. In fact, before we do, but here's a plea from Akshay. Pay Rohit more. He deserves it.
Well, let me
I'm
know,
with you.
guys.
I'm with you on that, Akshay. I'm with you on
If
that.
you would like to tell them your latest addition, my friend.
That doesn't mean that See, it's money and power. These are two things that are never enough for
Absolutely. Okay,
any motorhead.
let me put it like this. I have been the owner of a Triumph Tiger for a few years now, 2, 3 years. But Rohit has gone through three motorcycles. Daytona. There was a Tiger in between, which he sold off some time ago, and he is now the proud owner of a BMW GS 1250.
Wow,
There are
really? I didn't know this.
I
Wow.
think it's a good time. It's a good point. So, Akshay, well, Rohit, I think enough. I think I'd like to believe. Don't come to me for the reprisal anytime soon.
Well,
You
Akshay, you've
enjoy
put me in
it.
a tough spot, but thank you so
Yes, many
much. I
people.
mean,
All right, Bhaskar wants to know, is there a new Brio on the cards?
No, Bhaskar, not anytime soon. There isn't a new Brio on the cards anytime soon.
And let's just let the last question be, will the new i20 outdo the Sonet in terms of features? The global i20 even has a configurable instrument cluster like the Volkswagens.
Nitin, Joshua, we'll come back to that in some time once we see the i20 here in India and what Hyundai has to offer. It's too early to ask that question about what they're going to be offering. But yeah, it's just a few weeks away when I think actually a month away, by which time we will have a lot more information for you on what the i20 has to offer in India. So let's just hold on for a little while longer.
Any update on the Swift expected?
Again, Amitārya, nothing on the Swift as of now. There are lots of other cars that Maruti is effectively has just kind of got into the BS6 fold for that matter, and they're busy pushing out those products at this point in time. And we will have some more information on what Maruti has to offer in very very shortly for that matter.
All right, I think that's about it. We'll have to wrap up the show for this
Let's
week.
take a couple of. Sony, hang on. Bhaskar Nirla has another question. Heard that the EQC is going to be priced at
EQC.
1 crore. Cannot be serious. Well, yes, the pricing for the EQC is going to be somewhere in that 1 crore bracket, somewhere close to where the GLS is at this point in time. It is going to be expensive, but do keep in mind for that kind of pricing, there is a lot of technology on offer, and of course, electrics are not the cheapest at this point in time. But there's also a lot of value that Mercedes-Benz is offering along with this, the 8-year, the battery pack warranty that is there for that matter. They're also giving you the home charging. It's not just the portable charger unit. They're also giving you the home unit, the wall unit that will allow you to charge your car overnight for that matter. So all of this is going to be included within the cost of the car. So yes, there is a lot of value to be derived from it. Of course, the technology itself is expensive, but yes, 1 crore or somewhere thereabouts is where the EPC pricing is going to be. Another question Alankar Pagade has got is, why did Maruti Suzuki stop diesel cars? I think it's a very important question over here. And I was just in a conversation some time ago with Volkswagen's director, Volkswagen passenger cars director, Stefan Knapp. And he also had a very valid point. Diesel cars, for that matter, with the driven emission norms that are there in the country at this point in time, it's becoming tougher and tougher for manufacturers to continue offering diesel cars, especially in low cost cars at a very affordable price. The technology that goes into making these cars conform to emission norms is getting more expensive, and that's one of the challenges for a manufacturer like Maruti, or for anyone who's predominantly in the more affordable segments, or who's offering cars in the sub 10 lakh bracket. It's difficult for those manufacturers to continue offering diesel cars with that kind of technology. Don't be fooled by anyone who comes up and says we have the solutions. It's not going to be easy. And the next few years are going to see those cars also, those manufacturers that are offering diesel tech, rather diesel engines, making them more expensive overall. So yes, in some time, the shift is definitely going to be there towards petrols, at least in the more affordable segments. Higher end up in the luxury and premium segments, manufacturers will continue to offer diesels for that matter. Those will still be there, and because you can afford to have that kind of technology in the higher segments.
All right. So, just before we wrap up, let me just remind all our viewers that tomorrow, 1 p.m.
Don't hesitate. I'm in a generous mood today. I'm sorry if I'm keeping you, but I definitely see a lot of interesting questions coming up. There's another question from Kirit Gada coming in. Kirit is asking us, I've been driving a manual transmission car since the last 25 years. I am 64 years of age now. Should I switch to automatic transmission now? I am confused. Kirit, you definitely should shift to automatic transmission at 65, at 64 years of age. I mean, if it's not inconvenient for you to shift to use the clutch, definitely continue using manual transmissions, or rather shift to automatic. The automatics today are as good as manual for that matter, very comparative also for that matter in terms of fuel efficiency and the driving performance that they're able to deliver. However, having said that, you can also look at the new range of IMT transmissions. I just drove an IMT yesterday on the Sonet, and let me tell you, there was absolutely. I mean, it's a learning curve. It'll take you a very short while to get used to driving an IMT, a very short time for that matter. But you can then enjoy the benefits of a manual transmission without having to use a clutch, and that's a big plus for IMTs. So yes, that's something to look forward to. Otherwise, an automatic will serve all of your purposes quite comfortably. Abhiram's asking us when is the next digital show. Abhiram, we have a digital show happening every week, once a week. That's on Fridays and at 6 p.m. Today's show was delayed by half an hour, not because of the lockdown, but because we had to conform to an embargo on the Kia Sonet story, which went out at 7 o'clock this evening. So the next digital show will be next weekend, rather next week on Friday at 6 p.m. Hold on,
But
Sohini.
watch television before that. Tomorrow 1 p.m. we have
Yes,
we
there
have
you
the
go.
Sonet, we have the Duster, and we have the facelifted Land Rover Discovery Sport as well. So you can catch up with the show on CNBC TV 18 at 1 o'clock. And if you're not free tomorrow, Sunday 12:30 p.m. or 8 p.m. you can watch the show. Yes,
Well,
boss.
I'm just looking for a few more questions, Sohini. And I don't see much more. I think we've answered quite a few of those. So,
Yeah.
guys, one thing before we switch off, let me again tell you, subscribe to Overdrive's channel. Just hit the like. Those of you who are on YouTube, well, just hit subscribe. The button right down there. Watch our videos. The Sonnet video is also live on the YouTube channel. So do go there, check that out, see what Rohit has to say about the Sonnet. It's an exhaustive review that he's brought you. Uh, Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, get on to Twitter, follow us out there for all of the updates that we've got for you coming up from the world of automobiles, especially in India. Also follow us on Instagram because Anis has got some phenomenal photographs, some great imagery, and some fantastic video clips also, which we post out on Instagram. So do follow us over there as well. And we'll keep coming to you every week with more information. So thank you guys for watching us, and all the best to you all.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.